With spring selling season just around the corner, I thought it'd be a good time to revisit some negotiating tactics that we need to employ when we're looking to buy a property in this upcoming season. And the first one for me is it's not all about price. We actually need to find out what the vendor really wants. And it takes a bit of digging and it takes a bit of asking the right questions to find out exactly what it is that they want. Because people are often surprised to know that it's not always just about price. I mean, if there's actually a divorce involved, it could be a real motivation to have a short settlement, or someone may have a real preference to have the security of an unconditional contract rather than anything that's got conditions. And in some cases, an unconditional contract with a lower price can beat a higher price with some conditions. And equally, the vendor might be interested in an early release of deposit so they can use the money to go and do what their next move is likely to be. So Stephen Covey says it best when he says, first seek to understand, then be understood. When it comes to negotiating, you want to do exactly the same thing. Find out what it is that they want so that you can create a win-win and maybe just distract them on price in the process. My second tip is cash is still king. If you've got your finance pre-approved, you've got your deposit lined up ready to go, going into a contract and saying no finance clause, this is cash unconditional, is an unbelievable bargaining chip. And even if you're buying at private sale, if you buy it under auction conditions, that is very, very enticing because what you're doing is giving the vendor certainty and security, which is something that they will value enormously. So remember, cash is still king. The other thing to think about is consider giving a knockout offer. So if you know what the value of property is, not the price, because the price is often the guide that the agent gives you. But if you actually know what the value is based on stuff that's sold recently around the area, if you're going to put an offer in, consider putting in a knockout price and just keep the competition at bay, but also get the vendor's attention. Because I've seen so many times when people are afraid to do that knockout bid and then they wait for the competition to build and ultimately they end up paying more than the price they would have done had they done the knockout bid. So know the value and be prepared to make that knockout offer. Again, that might put you in front of the competition. Now, there's this term that smart is dumb and dumb is smart. And by that, nobody really ever wants to help a smart aleck. And think about it when someone you've spoken to recently, they know everything, you just have very little motivation to help them. Versus the person who comes humble and authentic and with a curious mind, you just want to jump out of your seat to help them and give them more information. And when it comes to negotiating, it actually is a really bad mistake to come across as smart. You actually want to come across as dumb, because then the agent who's dealing with you feels more inclined to give you more information. And if you're smart about hearing what they're having to say, you might get some key intel which will help you craft your offer that you might not have got had you gone in with that sort of superior ego position. So for me, smart is dumb and dumb is smart. And the way to remember about this is you've got 2 ears and 1 mouth, and you should use it in that proportion when you're negotiating. The next tip for me is negotiating starts at hello. As soon as you start talking to an agent, the negotiation has begun. They are sizing you up. They're asking you qualifying questions because all they've got is to sell their time, and they want to work out if you're a serious buyer first, but then they want to find out as much information as they can to craft the negotiation when it comes that time. And I know agents that actually sort of ask people to walk through, have a look at the property, and then they end up stopping and chatting to the kids because the kids don't know what's going on here. And so they ask them lots of leading questions. Are you thinking of moving? Are you moving schools? And the kids are quite willing to give all the information that the agent is banking for the later negotiating stage. So remember, as soon as you say hello to the agent, the negotiation has begun. So experienced people know that, and they know what to reveal and they know what to conceal. Now, the next thing to think about for me is know the metrics of the area. Work out what the average days on market and the average vendor discount is in that market. Because if they've been on the market for a long time, you know you've got good leverage in the negotiation. If you can see that markets are moving quickly, days on market are short, you understand it's a seller's market and the negotiating position isn't with you as the buyer. And a confirming indicator is around vendor discount. So if you can see that they're taking large vendor discounts, the power is in the buyer. And again, if there's little vendor discount, or if in a strong auction market, it's going to be zero discounts. In fact, it goes for more than the advertised price. You can see that strong and healthy markets, and it gives you an idea of exactly what sort of market that you're negotiating in. And my final tip is around having a suitable and viable plan B. Because the real estate agent is always wanting to throw at you, hey, look, just letting you know there's another buyer in the mix. And that's negotiating 101 for the agents. But you often don't know if that's true. So if you counter that by saying, that's great, I'm still interested in the property, but I also have another property that I'm interested in, you can still show that you're keen, but also show that you're not desperate for the property, and see what flushes out. Equally, you can, depending on the market that you're in, you can actually say to the agent, hey, here's my offer, but just letting you know I've put 2 offers in at the moment on 2 properties that I really like, and whoever gets back to me first is actually going to be the one that we take. Again, giving you a position of strength if the market dictates that you can actually do that. So, as I said, it's the spring season coming up, and it's important that we are armed with as many negotiating tactics as we can. But it's important to understand that the real estate agent that you're up against negotiates all day, every day for a living. So if you don't come prepared, chances are you are going to be outmatched during the negotiation phase. So if you take in mind a couple of those tips that I've suggested today, it'll put you in good stead as you come up to this spring selling season.